Aloha and welcome to this WOD called Model Design 1. We're going into entity relationship modeling um, and should be fun. Use some new technology, draw some pretty diagrams. I think you'll like it. So the idea here is that for this first WOD, we're just going to refer back to the Play for Java book and use Lucid, get comfortable using Lucid charts by basically implementing a model um, that's already been described for us for the most part. Okay, so you should definitely download the latest Meet version, version 10. I think that probably will be the latest version by the time you see this. And then, of course, you should review the model design guidelines, which are here, and talk about, the various issues, crow's foot notation. There's certain kinds of crow's foot feet that you could choose in Lucid charts that you don't want to because they don't specify cardinality, and you get more information from doing that, and some heuristics for how you go about this. Okay, so let's go back to this. I think we're ready. So we'll start the timer right here. So we're going to construct an ER diagram using Lucid charts of the warehouse application described in Chapter 7. So we'll go to Google Docs. We'll say Create Lucid Chart Diagram. And okay, so it wants us to create a title, so we'll call it ERD Warehouse because that's what we're supposed to call it. We say OK. And then we notice that we don't have our ER diagram, so we'll get rid of these guys. And we'll go down to more shapes, and we'll click on entity relationship, click save. Now we got our entity relationships. Okay. So now we just got to create the model. So let's look, and we see, aha, there's our model right there. Awesome. So let's go ahead and building this thing. So we'll take an entity, and we'll call this one tag. And just make it a little cuter, we'll make a shared header. And then tag is related to a product, so we'll create another product one here, call it product. And let's shape the header, because I don't know, I think that looks good. The next one's called stock item. Stock item, and shade our header, and then the final one is going to be warehouse with a shaded header. Okay, we got our 4 things there. The next thing is to specify the relationships. So a product can have many tags, and a tag can occur on many products. And now you're going to see the very first one of the first things is that they don't really tell you, does a product have to have at least one tag, or does a tag have to be associated with at least one product? So this is this question between what's the minimum cardinality for these relationships. And so, we're just going to kind of make a reasonable assumption about this, okay? And then you kind of just have to justify what you're going to do. But the first thing we have to do is actually create one of these relationships. So that's done like that. And then if we select this guy, now we got to say, okay, so a tag. Let's look at this side. Let's look at the left side first, which means a product can be associated with many tags. Well, does a product have to be associated with at least one tag, or could a product have no tags associated with it? I think you could argue either way, but what I'm going to basically say is I think a product should be associated with at least one tag. That feels like a reasonable, thing. And I'm not going to grade you off if you decide differently, as long as you're explicitly thinking about what this means. And you really want to have products that don't have tags associated with them, maybe because you just got a few tags, or tags are special things like on sale or something like that. Okay, the other side, a tag can be associated with many products, but can a tag exist without being associated with any products at all? And there, I'm also going to claim that I think if you've got a tag and there's no products that care about it, then why do you have that tag? I would just delete that tag. It's not adding any value to your business. Again, you could argue differently, but I think it's kind of plausible to think that way. Okay, now we say a product has to be associated with can be associated with many stock items, but a stock item has to be associated with just one product. So let's draw that. And what I would say for this is that clearly a product could be out of stock. So I think that we can make the strong argument in this case that this should really be 0 or more. So you can have a product that has 0, a product instance can have 0 or more stock item instances associated with it because the stock item, you might not have any of the products in stock. Whereas on the other side, again, we've got to use the right thing. I think we should say that a stock item cannot exist unless it's associated with a product item. That certainly makes sense, and that in fact it's a stock item is associated with exactly one product, which is what they were saying in this diagram here. So that seems good. Okay, so let's draw our final guy, and that's the relationship between stock item and warehouse. And we're going to say the stock item is associated with exactly one warehouse, and that a warehouse can be associated with many stock items. So again, we have this problem with what's our minimum cardinality, and I would say a stock item has to be associated with exactly one and only one warehouse. So it doesn't make sense for a stock item to not have any warehouses associated with it. So let's click this thing, and what we're going to say is it's going to be one and only one. So if a stock item instance always is in a warehouse, it's not sitting out in a field someplace. A stock item is going to be in a warehouse by kind of definition. On the other hand, a warehouse, I'm going to claim that we could imagine an empty warehouse. Okay, it's brand new, just been rented. There is absolutely 0 stock inside it. So we're going to say that a warehouse has 0 or more stock item instances. Okay, so that's the first part of this. The second part of this is to decide what our fields are. Okay, so for this, we got to move down to this basic data model. Okay, and so it's pretty simple. All we have to do is look at the fields associated with each of these entities, and get rid of the ones that are actually basically fields that are representing relationships. So here we have this tags field, and that's the relationship that's being represented there. But we have an EAN, a name, a description, a picture. So we have 4. Coming back over here, we have 4 fields. So if I click here. I go 1, now I got 4 fields, and then I just click on the first one. Oops, this is for tag, sorry. A tag has only 2 fields associated with it. So let me go back to here and go click, click. Okay, and then I'll go here, and this is ID. And then the second field in tag is name. And that third field there, products, is of course the relationship. Then we go to product, and we notice there are 4. So we click that, and so the first one's EAN, the second one is name. You can use tab to go back and forth, description, and picture. Okay, and there we have all our things for product. Stock item is a warehouse, that's a relationship. Product, that's a relationship. Quantity, that's the only actual field there. It's not a relationship. So we'll go down to 1, select it, and we're not putting the types of the values in there. I think for the documentation purposes, it's not all that necessarily. Finally, warehouse has just a name. The other things are the relationships. So we'll go down to 1, and we'll double click. We'll say name. Okay, and there we. And the last thing we want to do is download a PNG file, just so you get practice doing that. So you say File, Download As. Use PNG, always crop to content. There's no reason to never do that. I don't know why that isn't the default value. Well, I guess I do understand why that, but I wish we could specify crop to content as the default. And let's specify print quality 300, because why not? We should have a nice crisp thing. And then we download it, and there it goes. Okay, it's been downloaded, and just to double click on it, and here you see we have this nice PNG image with our entity relationship diagram. So that was about, let's call that 9 minutes for RX.